We're live. Hey everyone, welcome to the stream. We've got a few people coming in already. Alright, big game today, big game. We're going to get into predictions, we're going to get into the ins and outs of all the tactics today. It's going to be good fun. Croatia need a draw, and Belgium definitely need at least a win. I think a draw's enough if Morocco don't win. However, it's going to be tough, it's going to be a tight call. Alright, let's wait for some more people to come in before we get going. Alright, can everyone hear me? Everyone who's here already, can you hear me? Make sure that's all up to scratch. Alright, we've got Sammy saying 3-0 Morocco against Canada. I think definitely Morocco are going to win against Canada today. Canada, they obviously they want to go out with a fight, but they've already lost. Morocco looking very good as well. They got a very good young team. I'm not surprised they've made it this far, and it looks likely they're gonna make it out of the group stages as well. We'll see what's in store for us today with this match, but it should be good, should be exciting. Mertens is a super starter. What do you think he'll bring over Batshuayi or an injured Lukaku? I think Mertens is a lot more dynamic than Batshuayi. I know Batshuayi got the winning goal in the last game, but I think Mertens is just that little bit more effective. He gives a lot more support out wide. He's a bit more dynamic, runs a lot more than we see the Batshuayi. So I think he's definitely a key player to have in the team. Let's just take a look at the whole bench here so everyone can see that as well. Let me just make sure that's all lined up. Yeah, there we go. Okay. So on paper, it looks as if Croatia's going to go for a 4-3-3, which is what they've played in their recent games as well. And Belgium looked to have switched it up again. So their first game out, they played a 4-2-3-1. They had Kevin De Bruyne and Eden Hazard starting in the centre, and it meant they were able to find a lot of space out wide against Morocco, but it was kind of difficult against a very good, very well drilled Moroccan team that kept on getting the ball back and hitting them on counter-attacks. So they've switched it up today. They're going for a 3-4-2-1, but I think the principles of how they play will remain consistent. So if you've watched any of Belgium's previous games, you'll know they like to build with a back three. So in the previous game, they'd have one fullback push up and one fullback drop down. And then they've got the 3-2 structure here. So that allows teams to build up quite consistently because you've got a lot of support between the lines. So let's just instantly put them up here. Say they were pressing. They've pushed up. So let's say the other team commits 4 men to the 3 players to the press. Well, that instantly makes it difficult because you've always got these 2 players that can move in and out. That can create overloads. So even though, let's say... Who's that on the ball? Substitutes. Oh, let's get... I just realised that's the substitutes and not the starting 11. There we go. That should be all lined up. Okay, so this build-up structure here with Alderweireld in the centre, Vertonghen on the left, and Dendocker on the right. It allows them to easily break the press. So if you have 3 players pressing high up, that's a lot of players already to have in the opposition's half. So you need these 2 to cover the holding mids. And then what Belgium were able to do is they had 5 players on the back line. So it would force the defence to sit back, and it could create a lot of space between the lines here, which they'd often look to exploit with direct passes out wide. And every time either the wing backs would drop deep, or maybe the wingers would come short. Even Batshuayi at times would come short. It forces the whole defence to just constantly adapt to these runs. So you could end up with situations where the line's completely messed up, like something you'd see like right here, which makes it a lot easier to just pick out players running in and about. So Belgium, although not doing great this World Cup, they've got a lot of... Oh, Connor's here. Hello. Yeah, they've got a lot of dynamic players that they could definitely create something today. But I don't know. Let me know your score predictions down below. Let's see what people are thinking about Croatia versus Belgium. Let's get these players all lined up again. Hello, Connor. How are you? Good to hear from you. Nobody can predict this World Cup. Yeah, I agree. Actually, if you haven't seen it, I've recently today uploaded a video on Brazil. And why I think they're doing really well this World Cup, and how I think they might surprise. Well, not really surprise, because come on, let's be honest. Brazil are probably favourites for this World Cup, but I think they might find a way to go all the way. A lot of other teams, Argentina are looking good now. They had a difficult start against Saudi Arabia. France obviously looking good. They lost last night, but that was against a weaker team, let's say. They've rested a lot of their key players. All right, let's get these set up again. Got Modric. It's always fun watching Modric play, so I'm excited to see what he does today. Obviously, having De Bruyne in there as well is excellent. He's probably one of my favourite players of all time. He's just so much fun to watch. So, damn man, he always seems to find space when there's just no space around. So that's something Belgium look to do a lot. They look to find players between the lines. So let's look out for that today. Let's look out for maybe De Bruyne in this position here, in front of the back four, in the half space. You know, you've got the fullbacks pushing up as well. So it could be interesting. It could be interesting. Now let's look at Croatia on the other hand. So they're a lot more counter-attacky, you could say. Against Morocco, mostly Morocco forced them to play like this. They forced them to defend quite deep. So they had like a 4-5-1 defensive block, which Morocco were able to keep them into this position quite consistently throughout the game. But they always did have, who was it up top? Was it? I can't remember who. Oh, actually, I've got it here. Croatia, Morocco. Kramaric up top. So they were able to find a lot of space with counter-attacks, and then they'd have the wingers pushing up as well. But it was a difficult game, 0-0. And Croatia are always dangerous when they're able to get Modric or Kovacic on the ball. They're always able to find space. Brozovic obviously is excellent at patrolling these areas between the lines. So you see him shifting constantly from side to side. And then obviously you've got Perisic in a rather unusual position for him. He's usually, you'd expect to see him as a wing-back, which is what he played for Inter, is what he plays for Tottenham. But he's in a 4-3-3 today, but I think he might function a lot like a wing-back would. So it's not 3-4-3. Yeah, just looking at what the TV's saying about the formations. They had them down as a 3-4-3. Talking about Belgium. But it looked like it's more of a 3-4-2-1. Sound goes up and down depending how close you are to the mic. Okay, maybe let me move the mic a bit further away from me. So let's see if that's a bit less distracting. I'm going to make a big bet on what you say. I'm not going to say anything then, because you'll probably lose a lot of money. There seems to be a trend on this channel of me predicting a winner, predicting a good team, and then they suddenly turn into the worst team I've ever seen. So if anything, do the opposite of what I say. Okay, I recently found out you can watch games with a tactical camera as well, which is very exciting and gives me a lot more insight in how the teams are lining up. So that's definitely what I'm going to be watching today. The game's just about to kick off. We've got 5 more minutes till kick off. What players are you interested in, do you want to see play today? So are you surprised about any omissions, any players not in the starting lineup that you expected to see? Okay, got a few more people coming in. It's a lot of people. The group stages are starting to come to an end. We're starting to see, so England, Cameroon, that could be a great game. And then if England win, which I expect them to, they have France straight away. So that's definitely going to be a tough fixture. But I'm interested to see how far England go. I'm interested to see how far either Croatia or Morocco or Belgium go, depending on who wins today, what the scores are. Just surprised to not see Lukaku. I thought he'd start since they really need the firepower. Yeah, that's true. Belgium are definitely an aging team. It's something De Bruyne said as well. Their golden generation is starting to come to an end, and I think if they don't get a result today and they don't make it through the group, then I think we can officially start to say that their golden age is starting to end. Obviously, with players like Kevin De Bruyne, Eden Hazard, Thorgan Hazard, Carrasco, Alderweireld, Courtois, they had so many good players, but their squad age is very old. I think it's surely it's one of the oldest in the World Cup. I'm not entirely sure, but I think it's around 30 years old, which is definitely quite old. Please answer my question. Belgium golden generation, Eden Hazard carry job. Don't count for me, Chelsea fan here. Yeah, I'm a Chelsea fan as well. I mean, Hazard was one of the most exciting players I've ever watched play. And yeah, he definitely did help them a lot in the previous World Cup. But I think Belgium as a whole, they've had some incredible talent over the past few years. You've obviously still got a lot of good players. You've got Trossard as well, who's excellent. And one of the most exciting players in the league, in the Premier League this season, that's for sure. So there are some young prospects that could help them cause an upset today, if you can call it an upset, because I think before the World Cup started, you did probably expect Croatia and Belgium to make it through. However, Morocco do have a very young, very exciting team. What lineups would I have chosen? So, I think the 4-3-3 works well for Croatia because it's what they've used consistently throughout the tournament. You've got Modric, who's an excellent box-to-box midfielder. You've got Kovacic, who's an excellent box-to-box midfielder. The only change maybe was to bring more out of Perisic, so you'd switch to a back three, have him as a wing-back, which is what he does extremely well for Tottenham. But as I said earlier, I think he'd play in a very similar fashion today. He doesn't seem to... As a wing-back, he doesn't defend too deep anyway, so he's usually quite high up in these positions anyway. I'm trying not to shout into the microphone. He's usually in these positions anyway, so I think we'll see a lot more cover from Sousa, the left back, and I think he'll push up into these spaces, and I think Croatia will try and stretch and get in behind Belgium's back three as often as possible. So look out for these spaces, especially if Castan and if Moyna, I switched them there, but if they both push up a lot, then I expect Belgium to look, for Croatia to look for long arching balls into these areas as well. And then regarding Belgium's starting 11, I think the back three works well for them. They build like that anyway, so it should simplify a few rotations for them. Because usually they start with a 4-2-3-1, so they have either one fullback pushing up, which is useful for creating overload. So let's say you have one fullback pushing up, then you can create overloads out here and you can still create a back three and have two players here. But I think just starting with a back three, it does help them simplify their game a little bit. Let's get these set up. So if you haven't seen it, I've recently made a video on the 3-4-2-1 and why it is one of the most used formations this season, especially in Italy use it a lot along with the 3-5-2. England have a few teams playing it as well, like Chelsea, Brighton, they've used it a few times. And yeah, it's something Gasperini for Atalanta. Oh, the game's just about to kick off, so let me get the clock started just as they kick the ball. I've got perfect tactical view for the game today, so I can see everything from above. It's cool. They've added a lot of cool features for this World Cup on the pitch. Let's just talk about tactics. Let's not get into anything else about this World Cup. Alright, just waiting for kickoff. Let me know if there's any delay to the stream or if everything's on time. And there we go, game's off. All right, so Croatia straight away with a shot. And that was one of the quickest kickoff routines I've ever seen. So kickoffs are becoming a lot like set pieces. A lot of teams you saw, who was it? PSG. They scored an excellent one. I think the rumor is they saw it on TikTok. But kickoff routines are becoming even more important. Every set piece game is becoming just so much more predominant, especially in games like World Cup. So straight away off the bat here, they had two players run off onto the side. I think it was Perisic, cut inside, and instantly they got a shot away. So that's quite an important start. Bit annoyingly, I have the colours inverted. So my Croatia is red on the board and they're actually white in the game. So maybe at halftime I'll switch that to make it, but I don't want to lose too much. And Croatia are in again. And that's an incredible start from them. Ball across. They look dangerous. Every time they get into the box already, it looks like they're going to create an opportunity. So Belgium instantly forced. That kind of kickoff works very well in Japan. Really works well to surprise the decision. Yeah, definitely. So we saw a very interesting one from PSG as well, with a dinked pass into Mbappe from Messi. All these set piece routines, goal kicks, they're incredibly important. Even the goal kicks, the ones that they did just kick it straight away into touch, into this position. If you win the ball here, then you can instantly create an opportunity. But if you lose the ball here, then a throw from this position is still quite difficult to get out of. So Croatia really on the up hand here. They've got a very high defensive line. So everything currently just sitting in Belgium. Belgium can't even get out of their own half. So yeah, the colours are a bit distracting here. Roberto. On Belgium here on the counter-attack. Looking for what Belgium are able to do quite well is get a lot of players in the box. So they always end up having a lot of players in this position here, completely packing the back line. So what are the books I followed to becoming a good tactical expert? So I'm definitely not a tactical expert. I've still got a lot to learn. But the main books I read were Inverting the Pyramid and Zonal Marking. I can never remember who wrote these books, but I think Michael Cox is one, and I can't remember who wrote the other one. But they're great books. They have the whole history of football, the development of tactics from extremely offensive 1-1-8 formations to more defensive 4-4-2s, 4-2-3-1s. So that's a great start if you want some insight into developments, and just helps you understand the game a little bit better. But obviously the best way to really understand the game is just by watching it. If you have the opportunity to watch replays, pause the game every 5-10 seconds, just see how the players are moving and how that moves the opposition as well. Because the majority of the time what you're trying to do is just manipulate the opposition into creating spaces. A lot of what you do, so even here you can see Croatia moving down the left flank. It looks like they're actually trying to do is, if they can break down this side, great, but they're actually just trying to free up a player on the opposite flank as well. So if this doesn't work, you always have the outlet option of a long ball cross to instantly create a dangerous opportunity. Jonathan Wilson wrote Inverting Pyramid. Yeah, it's a great book. I can never remember the author. I know Michael Cox is one of them and Jonathan Wilson's the other, yeah. Grande prof. Okay, so are the colours so let me know who's actually watching the game along at home. I've been meaning to do a live analysis for ages. You beat me to it. AJ, your videos are great. I'm not sure how many live streams I'm going to be able to do, but you should definitely give it a go. It's good fun. Yeah, I think your format would work really well for live streams. This is quite difficult, and I'm not sure if this makes much sense. But having the game with the software, I'm not sure. Maybe there's the tactical board you could use, stuff like that. There's some good software out there that helps with live analysis as well. So I'm sure there's plenty of options. Connor's watching the game at home. Good man. So yeah, we've got Croatia actually defending with a deep 5 at the back. And then they've got the 3 with the 2 up top. So the back 5 is actually Perisic. So then he has space to push out. Actually, no, Perisic is in this position. I think the numbers are just a bit distracting. So Croatia actually playing with a really high line today. So it looks like a tight game. Most of it's being played in this position. So yeah, let's just get the average position. Let's see what both teams are actually trying to exploit from the opposition. So yeah, we saw it here. Croatia looking to, let's get the strikers. I can't keep track of the numbers actually, it's quite difficult. Let's get some stats for the, I thought they'd show, no. So yeah, this is what we mentioned earlier. There's always the opportunity for Croatia to create overloads out wide. So in this case, you've got Perisic sitting as far out as possible, trying to stretch the Belgian defence. And then you've got players making runs into these positions as well. So you've got Kovacic pushing up into here. You've got these players playing wide. So it's forcing Belgium's defensive block to constantly shift from one side to the other. So interestingly, Belgium are trying to keep Trossard as high up as the pitch as possible. So he's probably the biggest threat from counterattacks. We've got one here, just him moving into this channel when they regain possession. Long ball out, and then trying to go for a 1v1. Because as we mentioned, yeah, Croatia are playing with quite a high defensive line. So having Trossard just sit further up on the pitch, it just creates a little bit more, a bit more angst, make it the two defenders' life just a little bit more challenging. So yeah, if you can see, the whole game is super tight in this whole space here. So you often see that at the start of games. You don't want teams conceding goals, so they just compact the lines as much as possible. Both teams want to get players in this position. So if we have, for example, we've got Modric and Kovacic, they'll usually be trying to hover in these positions behind the midfield lines. So here, so these obviously, I'm sure you're all aware now, these are what are called the half spaces. So it's the space between the fullback and the centre back, and it's also between the lines as well. So these positions here, they create a lot of difficulty for the opposition. So we can see Belgium just doing it right now as well, and they're able to create a 1v1 situation out here. And that was a good opportunity, cutting inside from the right. And what these positions do is, it just creates uncertainty for the defence. So if we've got the ball here, let's say you want to play it, in this case we've got Kovacic. Let's say he's in this position, the ball comes out to him. It's already a difficult situation, because if these midfielders fall back as well, then you can just rotate and you can find space, and you've gained this part of the pitch, which is a very important part. It allows you to just push the defence back, and it just ensures you have complete control of the game. But let's say Kovacic is able to pick up the ball in this position, and then instantly it's dangerous for the defence. So if he moves forward, maybe this centre-back has to step out, and you can play a ball in behind here to, who's the striker? I've lost track of the strikers. Livaya. Or in this case, if he pushes it out wide, then if the fullback steps out, then you've got Perisic completely free. So we saw that at the start of the game quite a lot. Instantly, just after like a couple minutes, they were able to instantly find a player in this position and create an opportunity. So as we know, Perisic is incredibly good with both feet. So he always keeps the fullback, the centre-back guessing. So he's happy to cut on the outside, deliver a cross with his left foot, cut inside, curve his shot onto the back post. He's one of the most unpredictable players in that position. So it's definitely something that Croatia want to exploit. They want to get the ball to Perisic as much as possible. However, given that they're not playing with left backs, as we can start to see, that they're starting to get exploited in this space quite a lot. And we've got an opportunity here for Belgium. Good ball onto the back post. Lost time, and that's a great save. That's a great stop. But yeah, Croatia are asleep there. So that's the danger. With Croatia trying to get the ball into this position as much as possible, Perisic not playing as a wing back, so he doesn't have cover. The fullback pushes up. You want to try and create these overloads like this. Defense shifts over. Maybe you'd have the fullback on the opposite side invert, come into the centre a little bit, try and control this position. But if that doesn't work, instantly Trossard being in this position, Belgium can regain possession, kick it long here, and then he's got the pace, he's got the energy, and it's the whole conversation of, is Belgium a bit past that? Are they a bit old? Their centre-backs don't have the pace to keep up with a player like Trossard. They can just get into this position quite frequently. So it looks like, yeah, this left flank might be one of the main attacking threats for Belgium. Long ball out here to Kevin De Bruyne on the flank as well. He's such a good player. I just love watching him play so much. De Bruyne today and throughout this tournament seems like he has heavy legs for much of the match and tends to play in spurts. Your thoughts? Yeah, so I do love Kevin De Bruyne. I think he is a generational talent. Generally just so much fun, but this World Cup hasn't been his best performance so far. But I do think a lot of that is, I don't think he's getting too much help from his teammates as well. So when he's at Man City, obviously he's the main creator. He's the main danger man for the team. He's the player that they want to get on the ball. But if he's not having a great game, which is very rare, but you've always got players like Gundogan, you've got Phil Foden, you've got Cancelo, you've got all these players around him that can just give him support, make runs. You've got Haaland in the box, so even if it's not a perfect pass, you've got someone that can finish. It's difficult. It's a difficult World Cup for him. I think it's a shame that Hazard hasn't been up to scratch as well, because for years really, since he left Chelsea, he just hasn't been the same player. Here go Belgium again. Counter-attack, Kevin De Bruyne, great pass. This could be a one. Oh, no, they've missed. So, yeah. As you mentioned, yeah. Croatia pushing a lot of players up. They've got Trossard, they've got these players ready to make counter-attacks. It looks like that's going to be their main threat. They've got these long arching balls into these columns here, into these sections, let's call them, or zones, that just make Croatia's life very difficult. So we can finally take a look at build-up. So if you can see here, it's two centre-backs, and then we've got a line of three in the centre. So this is a very common build-up pattern. And yeah, you can see it's very quick. It's very easy for teams that use this build-up to gain an advantage higher up the pitch. So let's get it all set up, and let's just explain why the 3-2 or why the 2-3 in this case is so useful. So I think I've lost track of the numbers. I'm not entirely sure where Lovren's gone. There he is. Croatia 2-1 Belgium. Good with Belgium to score first. All right, you're going to put a bet on it then, Con? Let me know. So we've got a free kick on the edge of the box here for Croatia. So yeah, second half, I'm going to switch the numbers around so it makes a bit more sense, because I don't think it's kind of pleasing to have the match where Croatia's in white but these are in red. So we'll see to that second half. So if you haven't seen my video on build-up, we talk about this structure quite a lot. It's something you see a lot with teams like Barcelona. They play like this, but they've got a player like Busquets in this position. Oh, and Croatia just scored. Sorry, Con, I think you've lost your bet. Oh, is it a penalty? I think it's a penalty. I just missed that as I was explaining that. There goes my bet. Yeah, sorry, Con. Okay, penalty for Croatia. You'd expect them to score this, wouldn't you? Yeah, I'm confident. Yeah, he'll save it, won't he, Con? Yeah, he'll save it. He'll save it. What do you guys think of the extra added time that they're doing at this World Cup? So you're seeing much longer games, 5-10 minute halves, stoppage time added on at the end. It's making games a lot longer. I'm curious to see what's going to happen when we make it to the knockout stages as well, because that's definitely a factor to consider. If you're playing 100-minute matches and then you've got another half an hour to play on top of that, it might cause a lot of issues. I wouldn't be surprised if we see more substitutions slightly earlier on, or if they're leaving it later to try and get more, to try and have the players be fresher towards the end. It's a difficult one to consider. I'm surprised there wasn't really any talk about this being the case at the World Cup. It just seemed to be like, oh, it's the World Cup, let's do this. I'm in favour of it being, of them trying to stop time wasting. I'm just not entirely sure if adding an extra 15-20 minutes is the best option. And the penalties are actually going to VAR, so there's still hope for people out there who have placed a bet on Belgium to score first. There's still hope. Usually when it goes to VAR like this, it's taken this long to decide, they're probably not a penalty. I think it's a good move in football. We don't pause games like in NBA. Yeah, again, it's the counter argument to them adding this much added time is just stop the clock. Let's play shorter halves, but it's effective time. And I don't know if that would work with football. It's like, do you stop it every time it goes out for a throw-in? Because then games, how short do you make it? I think effective playing time is like 30 minutes, 35 minutes, maybe not even that, maybe like 25, 30. So you'd have to make like 30-minute halves, but that could still mean the game goes on for a long time. It's a difficult one. I think for now, the extra added time is the best solution, and it's not a penalty. Okay, so we're still safe. So while they continue arguing with the referee, as they always do, let's just take a quick look at the 2-3 build-up. So this is something, we've got it here, we've got the two centre-backs, and then we've got a line of three in the centre. So what most teams will try and do is they'll try and instantly press this. So you might leave the striker in a 2v1 against the centre-backs, but then you'd have the wingers trying to cover the full-backs. So if the pass moves out here, this winger has to shift over, this player would probably drop deep, and the whole team just kind of rotates. So then you'd have the striker in this case blocking off a back pass, and this winger rotating back over here. So the whole goal is you want to force them, cram them onto the flank, and then make it difficult for them to switch play, because this is where you're going to find the majority of space in this structure. But this is why the 2-3 structure works so well, is because this 2v1 advantage at the start is actually a 3v1, because you've got the goalkeeper as well. So he could block off this pass, and teams will often not even mark the playmaker, they'll just keep him in the shadow of the striker. But you're always going to find options. So you can pass it back to the goalkeeper, and if he presses, then you've got two options that can both push up. So it's a difficult one to stop. What most teams will try and do, and it's one of the reasons why this is quite a popular structure to build, especially for the 4-3-3, what teams are doing a lot at this World Cup is they're actually switching to a 4-4-2. So you can have two players on the defenders, and then you've got two wingers, and then you've got the four, and then you've got the two here. Now, this makes it harder for the team to beat the initial move, because instead of being a 3v1, it's now a 3v2. However, just some rotation at the back will eventually free up this player. And if you're able to get the ball into the holding mid in this case, then you've got an advantage here. And this 3v2 is incredibly difficult to stop, because you usually have players pushing up either side here as well. So let's say in this case, number 21 moves out and tries to press the playmaker, then this player is completely free here. And then this player, being in the half space between the centre-back and the full-back, makes the centre-back's life tricky as well. So if he steps out, you've got a ball into the striker. If he steps out, you've got a ball out wide into the full-back. So it becomes very difficult to close these spaces down. So what most teams will do when they're in a 4-4-2, instead of keeping the fullbacks as wide and trying to cover your fullbacks, because this pass isn't dangerous, but this pass is very dangerous, they'll have these players move inside to create a 4v2. So that works well. It makes it very difficult for a team to move through the centre, but you do have a lot more space on the flanks to move the ball around. So in this case, maybe you'd move the ball here, the whole team shifts around, and then you just move it back around, and you get these patient build-ups, but that's the best way of beating a low defensive block, like a 4-4-2. So we've got Croatia on the attack again. Croatia looking very dangerous, straight from the first whistle, but there's always these counter-attacks. So Belgium, again, they're keeping Trossard up top. They're just forcing two Croatian players to sit back constantly. And they're just, they're just keeping the counter-attacks as their main weapon, as their main distraction, let's call it, from Croatia's attacks. For me, I hope the added time discourages time wasting. Also, I wish the refs still showed cards for diving. Yeah, I agree. Diving is definitely, it's getting better at them stopping. Well, not the diving. The diving is getting worse, but they're getting better at detecting it and calling it when it happens. But they don't get penalised as much. That's true. Who do I think will win? Based on the start of this game, I actually think it's going to be a draw. Croatia look dangerous going forward, but they just look vulnerable on counter-attacks. So we've got Belgium. They've just got these players here between the lines. So you've always got Kevin De Bruyne. You've always got who's the other player? Witzel. They're just good at picking up space in the centre. So let's go. So Belgium actually playing with a back four, which is different to how. Let's have a look at. There we go. Formations. Yeah, so Belgium actually in a 4-2-3-1, which looked weird to me when it said it was in a 5. So you got Mertens. I've lost track of all the players. Hello from Turkey. What do I think of Leao? I felt he was too lazy in last game coming on from the bench. I think Leao is an incredibly talented player. I think the Serie A will lose a lot if he moves away from Milan, which is looking rather likely. His name's definitely on big clubs list. I'll be surprised if he stays in Italy too much longer, and it will be a big loss for Milan and for the league if a player like that does leave. I think he's great. He did look a bit lazy in the last game, but I think he's just saving himself. I think Portugal. I can't remember exactly how are Portugal in the league. Are they already through? Because I think that's definitely a factor as well. Like you want to save yourself for the last 16 for the quarterfinals, because that's definitely going to be the more important of the two of the games. So Danji saying Belgium seem to be having internal problems with publicity, and in my opinion, I think that adds a lot of stress to winning games and playing. For sure, you see it a lot with clubs as well. As soon as maybe a club's not performing to the level that they're expected, there's so much pressure piled on the players, on the manager, and it just makes it harder for them to play at a level that they know how to play. So external pressure is definitely something that's very difficult to handle, and only there's few players that are able to keep level-headed and in control when situations like that occur. And it's why some players, maybe they're not as talented as other players, but because they have the right mentality, they're more effective in tougher moments, and that's why they're better players. So skill is very important, but your mind frame is the most important thing. You could be the most talented player in the world, but if you don't have the right approach, you don't have the right mindset, you need positive attitude, you need to learn from your mistakes constantly. If you don't have those, then it's going to be difficult for you to reach the higher leagues of professional football. You need to be constantly putting yourself in tricky situations. That's what training's for. You want to put yourself in as many tough and pressure sensitive situations in training as possible, so that's when you get to the games, the pressure of the game is less, and you can think about what you need to do more clearly. So let's just take a look at Belgium's defensive structure. So they're actually adopting a 4-3-3 when out of possession, in the initial press anyway. So this is, you get this relatively like hexagon shape in the center here. And maybe Belgium will have, Croatia will have players in this position, like Modric or Kovacic, but it's just very difficult to move through these lines here. So if we have maybe Croatia, we've got Perisic. Considering his age, he should be showing more energy and he should be tracking back in high-profile match like that. Managers like Mourinho would have killed him seeing him like that. Yeah, I think there is a lack of old-school managers in the game as well. You need someone a bit tougher, someone like Sir Alex Ferguson to throw an ironing board at you. Okay, so I'm just going to get the Croatian players set up again in their right positions. Got Dejan Lovren. We've got Boza, he's not the striker. Brozovic is the holding mid, yeah. 14, 9, 4, and 20. Perfect. So yeah, Belgium's defensive structure here in this position, so just before the team enters your opposition's half, they're doing this 4-3-3. So they're leaving the striker in a 2v1, but that's not much of an issue because they're close enough where the striker can just constantly rotate from one to the other. And what he's doing is when he's moving over if there's a pass from this side, he's moving over and he's just making sure that they can't get the ball into Brozovic quickly. So eventually they will be able to just pass it and move it into this position. But maybe Croatia don't necessarily want to do that because these players are quite tight in this position. And unless the ball goes out here, these two players here, their main job is to just stop a pass going through here. So it's something you see young players do quite a lot. And we spoke about it in the last stream as well, but I think it's something very important that needs to be picked up on, is you don't want to go on the intention of a pass. So let's say in this position, this centre-back doesn't have very many forward options, but he does have this option out here into the left-back. Now, this pass doesn't really accomplish much for this team because it's quite easy to close a player down if he's on the flank. So that does make it quite difficult, but it's quite an easy pass for the centre-back, so you do see them make it quite a lot. However, so because this pass is so popular, what this player on the defending team usually thinks is, right, I'm going to try and intercept this pass and get there before the ball does, so I can be the hero and I can score a goal from this position. I can dribble past everyone and everyone's going to be happy. But if you do that, so let's say he goes one time too quick, moves over, and then he frees up this pass into the centre, and he's completely screwed his whole team because now the whole structure falls apart. As soon as one pass is made and this player's out of position, then the number of options that the team can exploit is just limitless. You've got switches in play, you've got this player pushing up, you've got the striker coming over. If he moves forward, then you've got space out wide. So you just want to protect the centre as much as possible, and that looks to be what Belgium, obviously they're a professional team, they do this well. They know not to, they want you to make this pass. So they make it difficult for you to make this pass. Because if you make this pass, then that's it. You win. Football's basically just controlling little zones on the pitch. And if you can control this zone, then you can force them back. And you can just make sure they can't get into your dangerous areas, which are these ones here. Tactically, from what you see, asks Greg, did Belgium come in prepared to absorb pressure and then counter-attack? So, to me, yes, it does look like they want to counter-attack as much as possible. And I think that's because they're keeping Trossard constantly high up in this position. So, he's not used that much when defending. They drop into a 4-5-1. Got the player here. Ignore the numbers, I'll sort them out in a minute. And, yeah, so... as we were saying, they're trying to force players into these positions out wide. So then they can trap them. And then once they regain possession, because they've committed so many players, you've got Trossard in this position or in this position ready to counterattack. So you can see them moving down the left flank again. I'm talking, it's Belgium's right flank, but it's Croatia's defensive left flank. And then obviously you do have the wide players like Carrasco and in this case De Bruyne or Mertens moving over onto the flank that are extremely dangerous in these positions and can just constantly pick out players in the box as well. But I do think one of their biggest issues is not having a star striker, someone like Lukaku, an informed Lukaku, let's say, that can knock in the ball whenever it comes to him. Considering for the past few games Modric has been pressing defenders, he could definitely make an impact. Yeah, for sure. For sure, Modric is always a dangerous player, even if they're defending deep and he's not on the ball that often. He only needs a split second to create a dangerous opportunity. You saw it in the Champions League last season against Chelsea, where Chelsea were in complete control, and then out of nowhere with the outside of his boot, he picks out pass of the season, and suddenly it's 2-1, and the whole game turns on his head. So it's these positions here between the lines that Modric gets into so often. You can see him, he's in that position right there as well. And he's like, okay, there's 4 players around him, but that's not going to stop him because he's so good at receiving the ball on the turn that instantly he can turn left and trick the defender and falling out. And he can trick players and coming this way, he can trick defenders. And if he's in this position and he's able to turn around, then these players know that the ball's coming in. So they're always making these runs in behind as well. Morocco's getting a clutch as they won against Belgium. They have a chance. I think Morocco do. Yeah, we mentioned it earlier in the stream. Morocco are looking very good. They have such a young, exciting team. I think the main issue for Morocco is not talent and it's not tactics, but they have a lot of individual players, but I feel like there's a leader missing in that team. That's just my opinion, but I feel there's a lot of great individual players. You've got Ziyech, Hakimi, Buffal, an incredible team, extremely dangerous on counter-attacks, extremely quick, extremely dangerous out wide with the wing-backs, but there seems to be a lack of someone who can control the team and like leads on the pitch, and I feel like that's the reason why they might make it. I think they'll make it out the group stages, but they might struggle to go much further in the competition than that. But it's exciting to see how far they've come and how far they could go, because there's a lot of young players, there's a lot of experienced players in that team that they could be around for the next few tournaments. They could be a dangerous team to consider. Who do you think will win the whole thing? Personally, I favour Brazil. I'm with you on this one. Yeah, I think Brazil, if you haven't seen it, I uploaded the video this morning on why I think Brazil are my personal favourites and why I think Vinicius Junior is not underrated, because he's definitely not underrated, but he's incredibly essential to that team. So even if he's not on the ball that often, he's just constantly, let's say number 4 here is Vinicius, he's just constantly hovering in these positions. So we'll just make a quick example here, what he does. And if you want to see the whole explanation, then check out my video. And if you haven't done so, maybe you should subscribe for more live streams, for more content like this, if you do enjoy it. So yeah, what Vinicius Junior does exceptionally well, let's say it's in this position, he'll sit in like a slightly offside position. So it kind of feels at times that the defenders forget he's there. And if the ball rotates, the ball moves up, then he just sits just far outside of this guy's field of view that it feels like they're like, he's no danger. And then as soon as there's an opportunity, he just steps onside, and then there's a ball in behind for him to take a shot, dribble inside. He's a player that you can't take your eye off for... you can't take your eye off him for a second. He's just constantly dangerous as soon as he gets the ball, and then he can dribble, he can cut inside, he can cut on the outside. We've got Belgium coming up here. No one on the second post. So yeah, Belgium looking to deliver these balls from deep. So they're trying to pick out players from this position, cutting inside. So let's get the defense set up again. Got Lovren. 19. There we go. Good Perisic. Honestly, I think the new offside tech is rigged. How come? I agree, Vinny Jr. can make an impact with his pace on the wing, with Richarlison being a centre forward, scoring goals left and right. Richarlison, he doesn't get too much game time at Spurs, obviously because of Harry Kane being up top. But when he puts on a Brazil top, he looks like a different player. He looks so dangerous, and that goal he scored in the first game was unbelievable. So far, maybe my second goal of the season, goal of the tournament. My first has to be Abubakar. That dink against, can't remember who it was now, Serbia, was just unbelievable. It was so perfect. Here come Belgium again on the counter-attack, looking again out wide for the space on the right flank in this position. And then game's quite opened up actually. There's a lot of players. Compared to the first 20 minutes, the teams were very tired. They were the game was very much in this part of the pitch. So both lines were quite high. They didn't look too worried about getting caught in behind, but they were worried about players finding space between the lines. But the game has definitely opened up, and that happens frequently when you play teams that play counter-attacks. So that's what Belgium are doing. They're trying to exploit spaces out wide, and that forces the defence to, be a bit more cautious of these runs constantly being made on the outside. And it does cause the defences to stretch a little bit, and there's a bit more space in here, which is now why I think the next, so how far into, until the end of the first half, I think we're going to start to see players like Modric, like De Bruyne get on the ball a lot more often. I think they're going to create a lot more chances. You're going to see a lot longer balls out wide. So, you got Vertonghen, Castan. Den Docker and Witzel. Mertens. There we go. So yeah, just updating the formations a little bit, getting everyone in the position that they're actually occupying on the pitch. USA and Australia made it to the round of 16. I'm shocked. I'm not surprised about the USA. They looked good against Wales, and they looked decent against England as well. And yeah, they've got a young team, but again, I'd say it's something similar to Morocco. It's a young team, a lot of good, talented players, but they just need to find a bit more of a cohesion, let's say, or chemistry. Let's keep it in FIFA terms. They just need a little bit more chemistry, and I think they'll be able to become definitely a strong footballing nation. I mean, the sport in the country has developed a lot. They've come a long way. They've invested a lot into football, and I'm not surprised to see them make it through. And I think I'm not sure how far they'll go in the competition, but I think just getting out of the group stages is a very important win for them. And something that was probably definitely going to be their objective coming into the World Cup anyway. Yeah, I'm surprised about Australia. It wasn't the toughest group, but still to make it out along with France is it with France? No, sorry. Is an incredible achievement. I'm very happy for them, and it's always fun to see teams like that make it through, and deservedly as well. That they've been exciting to watch, just energetic, and ball over the top for who's that, Trossard or Mertens to run onto. So yeah, you see that quite a lot with defences as well. You just have them moving the ball around here, and it just kind of distracts the opposition into wanting to commit more players forward. So you see that, and then the defence slowly just pushes up, and then when you least expect it, you've got two players, because the lines are so tight now, you've got two players that can just instantly come into this position. And now this player, if not pressed properly, has the opportunity to play it into all this space that was created. The Mind of God asking if I can make a video on how to start watching football and the basics of technicality and tactical information for beginners. That could be interesting. We could definitely look at that. If you want any quick tips, I say it quite a lot on the streams, but I think the best way to learn about football is just to watch the games and then pause it every 5-10 seconds to see how the players have moved. So the best place to start is when watching a team build up. So when the goalkeeper has the ball, what's their shape? What on the pitch? So have you got the centre back starting either side of the goalkeeper, or is the goalkeeper just going to kick it long? Have you got the full backs cutting inside into maybe these positions? Are they staying wide? How many players do they have in the midfield coming to create chances through the centre? There's tiny little things that you'll start to see patterns, and you'll realise a lot of teams play in a very similar fashion. And that was an excellent opportunity again down Belgium's right, down Croatia's left flank here. Just finding the space here. It always seems to be Sousa getting caught out with leaving a lot of space in this position. Belgium looking dangerous in this position. So you see here, Mertens picking up the ball in the half space. It's quite a good, strong 4-5-1 defensive block from Croatia. The 4-5-1 defensive block is very good if you're playing with a 4-3-3, because it's very easy for players to understand, especially at beginner level, how to fall back. So if you're playing a 4-3-3, you've got players here, you've got these here, and you've got the striker up top. A 4-5-1 just requires the two central midfielders, the box-to-box midfielders, to come alongside the holding midfielder, and then the wingers come alongside the midfielders as well. So you've got this 4 block, and then you've got one striker up top, putting pressure on the centre-backs. And this player up top is very important as well. You do need someone up here that can help you get out of tricky situations. If you drop to like a 5-4, which you see some really defensive blocks do, obviously it makes it harder to score, but then you're just going to get bombarded because you've got no player in this position that you can pass the ball, and there's just no outlet option. So yeah, the 4-5-1 is just forcing Belgium to play a bit wider, because in a 4-5-1 you have this triangle here of the two centre-backs and the holding midfielder. They're usually quite tight together. So if you have a striker in this position, it just makes it difficult for him to receive the ball directly. You're probably not looking to pass it into him here unless he has good support around him. So you'd expect Belgium to do what they're doing really, which is shift it from side to side, make sure this defensive block has to rotate, has to try and cover these positions. And then if you keep doing that effectively enough, eventually you'll find space on the flanks for a player to get in behind this number, the 5th, the outside right centre-back or right midfielder. And then if it's a 1v1 with the centre-back, with the full-back, you can create an easy opportunity with the players that are already between the lines just cutting inside. So from here, then you've got 3 players ready for the ball into the box. Again, getting Belgium finding a player in this position. This time it's Kevin De Bruyne. They're very good at getting different players in these positions. So that's something they're doing very well today. They look very dangerous. They've got this. Croatia maybe just sitting a bit too deep, but these players not tracking back as much as they should, which is kind of what we expected from Perisic. I'd expect him to play quite high up, but he's losing track of the players. He's leaving the fullbacks in a tricky situation. So we see it there again, the 2-3 structure and build up, allowing you to have 3, and then that eventually becomes a 5 players up top, which is a very good way of beating a low defensive block or a high press even. Both team defense are very good. It's very hard to get an opening to shoot. Yeah. So you can see both teams have quite a similar defensive structure. They're both going for 4-5-1s. They're both keeping one player up top ready for counter-attacks. The only difference is maybe Perisic isn't dropping as deep, so you'd have Croatia, maybe it's like a lopsided 4-4-2. Got somewhere in here. So there's different risks with both teams doing it. So in this case, Croatia, they've got like 4-4-2 Perisic in this position. The main advantage being you can pick him out and then you can be 1v1 or 2v2 if the striker moves over. But then with Belgium doing on the other hand, maybe you only have Trossard, but you have Croatia pushing their fullbacks a lot further up. So it creates more space in these positions as well. So Belgium's counter-attacks are maybe a bit more into space. So if you're looking at Belgium, they're maybe looking to get the ball into this space behind the defence. Croatia's counter-attacks are maybe trying to get the ball into this space first. So they're trying to control this part of the pitch, force the defence to fall back, and then create their opportunity from there. So it's a slightly slower counter-attack compared to Belgium's quite direct, just balls over the defence, consistently hammering them. Yeah, Croatia can make a mistake by attacking more with more players, and Belgium can quick counter. Yeah, definitely. Belgium are quick up top. They've got Trossard, they've got Mertens, Carrasco. They're all very dynamic, very good players at finding space. Croatia has to be constantly aware of these balls into the space behind the defence. That's for sure. Then look up. So you can see again Modric just trying to pick up these positions between the defence, trying to force some disruption, trying to force the midfielders to drop deep, create space for his teammates as well. Makes it a lot harder for Belgium to get control of the game. It's quite a cautious approach during the first. No team's pressing too high up the pitch. They're both able to pick out their teammates' build quite quickly. And there you go again. Belgium just trying to look to play balls into this position, and that's a perfect example of what happens when you try and cover these runs as well. Belgium getting the ball into the box from the opposite flank as well. So yeah, Belgium just in this position. If Croatia get a bit too distracted, a bit too keen, and they could just commit too many players up top, it just means they have this player as well in this position. At times De Bruyne dropping deep. It just forces Croatia's left back to be slightly too high up at times. And then again, you've got just these players just constantly making these runs into this position here. So yeah, Sousa, the Croatia's left back seems to be getting caught out quite a lot. Again, because it plays in these half spaces, you can't really have the centre backs closing down a player here. So it's usually him, and then you've got just these runs being made, and centre backs very good at just picking out players in this position. If the centre back's under pressure, then De Bruyne's good at picking up the ball in this position, and if he's given time, then again he's just going to look for players on Croatia's left back. Or right back. No, yeah, left back. And then what happens once the ball is in this position, and Croatia are able to get back, defend deep. Let's say they were able to do this. Now Croatia have a lot of players up top, so they've get caught out in this position. And Belgium have the winger on the opposite flank just able to stretch the defence a little bit, keep Juranovic's mind occupied a little bit. So you can't come too close this way and trying to stop maybe the striker or whoever's in this position. He always has to be aware of this ball. And Belgium just had an opportunity 5 minutes ago. Good ball over the top, picking out a player in this position, and unfortunately wasn't able to get the cross back across into a player. And that's the end of the first half. What do you make of the first half so far? What's a good way of opening up the defence to get room for an easy shot in zone 14? Ooh, very good question. So zone 14 is this area here on the edge of the box. Let's do it on this side so you can see it a little bit more. So half time, let's just move the pegs out of the way. So zone 14 is this area here, which is considered as by most as like the golden zone for football. So you want to get a player in this position because it's where the majority of passes are made into a dangerous area. So a lot of good teams will try and control this position, or at least they used to. They used to do with the playmaker, with the classic number 10 would be in this position. But I actually think Zone 14's moved a little bit. So you don't really see too many players pick up this position anymore. Usually if it is, it's a striker playing as a false 9 coming into this position. Someone like Firmino would play in this position. And then you'd have Salah and Mane and the classic Liverpool cutting into these areas here. I think the most dangerous areas now are just outside of Zone 14. So this area here and this area here. Because it's an awkward place where it's not out wide, it's not the centre. So there's not really many players that play naturally in this position. It's always somewhere you have to get to. So it creates a lot of danger here. But if you do want to create an opportunity in Zone 14, which was the original question, the main way is by disrupting the defensive block, by forcing them to shift from one space to the other. So it depends on what formation the other team are using. You can see just the stats here. Croatia attacking down the left flank quite a lot. It depends what formation teams are using. Let's say they're using a 4-4-2. So naturally there's no player in this position. You want to get this player. The best way to do it is just by constantly rotating it around. You need a lot of patience. You need players to wait for the gap to open up. You see, especially at young level, semi-professional level, players just want to say, oh, Zone 14 is the danger area, and they just want to get the ball into this area as quickly as possible without gaining an advantage. The main way of gaining an advantage is by having other players around it causing distractions. So maybe the ball is out wide here, you have this player running onto the flank, he shifts over, he shifts over, he shifts over, the whole defense has to shift, and then maybe this player moves into this position, and instead of passing it directly to him, maybe you'd rotate it around the back, and you do it indirectly like this. So you're just trying to move the ball from side to side, wait until maybe the defenders just get a bit distracted. They're not as keen, and maybe this midfielder here hasn't followed all the way around yet. So he's left space, the ball's here. You can drop it back and you can find a player in this position. There's no one way of finding a player in Zone 14. There's hundreds of different ways. There's hundreds of different players that do it in different ways, different managers, but as it's a very protected area, a lot of managers know that they don't want the other team to hold the ball in that position. It is very difficult. So usually what you find is managers use this as a distraction area. They'd have a player here so the other team has to commit, but they don't actually want a player on the ball in that position. They're actually just trying to force them to think that that's the danger area, while in reality you've got a player in this position who's dangerous and can cut inside in this position. But because you were so focused on stopping this, you forgot to focus on stopping this or stopping this. And then you have players in this position cutting inside and getting in behind. So, there's a lot of different ways. There's no one way of creating space in behind. It requires the whole team to constantly just rotate and move as a unit. Ade, good to see you again. Thank you for supporting the stream. Okay, just going to get a sip of water. I'm not used to talking for so long. There's actually, I'm not sure how you're watching the game, but on some websites, some streaming services, you can watch the game from the spider cam. You can watch it from above. So that's the way I have it now. So it's much easier. It's actually how I see the board now. This is how I have the teams lined up. Which reminds me, I'm just going to switch the players around and have Croatia in red, as that makes a lot more sense. So bear with me. Just going to read some comments while I switch all these players around. It's going to be very difficult for me to keep track. Yeah, some broadcasters give you the opportunity to change the camera angle. That's true, that's what I'm doing as well. More people should be liking this. Thanks, Con, means a lot. It's actually doing quite well. 17. Oh god, I've already lost track. Which one's 6, which one's 9? Okay, let's just pair these up so I know which ones need switching. Okay, so these are done, these are done. And I think I forgot to update the score. Yeah, so let's just pause the clock for the first half. Get the second half. Underway. So what did everyone make of the first half? Do you think, is it entertaining? Who do you think is going to win? I think Belgium could distract players from the middle and pass it to the wing for a tap in. Yeah, I think that's what they're trying to do. They're just trying to create a lot of disruption on these sides, on these areas of the pitch here, and then just look for a ball into the box. We've got quicker, more dynamic players in this position as well. But it's a tight game. Yeah, it's difficult to call. Okay, let's just switch these around as well. Whoops. Okay. So I'm just changing the colour of the teams to make more sense with what we're watching. As I predicted Croatia would be in red. Not sure why. I thought they'd play with their away kit, which I think is red. I might even be wrong about that, to be honest. There we go. We've got Croatia in red. Oh no. Croatia in white. We've got Belgium in the red. Perfect, there we go. Refresh that. Okay, good stuff. Alright, let's just switch these players around. Croatia for the win, probably a draw unless Belgium really gets gassed. Yeah, I'm thinking draw. I don't see... It's either... I think someone's definitely going to break the deadlock in the second half. I think it might be like a 1-1. I don't see a winner. Croatia just looking to create more structured opportunities. Belgium just definitely looking to get ball quickly. They want to move quickly. They're trying to distract Croatia in certain areas and then create opportunities. But yeah, Mertens had a big opportunity on the counter-attack to score a goal. Definitely Belgium missing a striker. I think if they had someone, a fit Lukaku up top, they might have put at least one past the goalkeeper today. And I think I've lost track of who I've changed. Okay, perfect. So, do you reckon Hazard will come on for the second half? I wouldn't be surprised. I think he definitely, if Belgium do go home and Hazard doesn't play the second half, there's going to be a lot of people wanting to have seen him on the pitch. So I think we'd see at least one Hazard brother coming on, if they're both on the bench even, which I think they are. Let's just take a look at the substitutes for a minute. Yeah, you've got Thorgan Hazard, Eden Hazard, Tielemans is a great player that could come on. Lukaku's on the bench, so if they do need him, he could definitely come on second half. De Ketelaere, a lot of Milan fans seem to rave about him at the start. I think he lost a bit of momentum towards coming into the World Cup, but he's definitely a good player for Milan, and he has a lot of potential about him as well. Michy Batshuayi, the goal scorer, their only goal scorer so far. Or did they win? No, yeah, they won 1-0. Mertens will score one way or another. Eventually, yeah, I'm sure Belgium are going to get a more dangerous opportunity in the second half, that's for sure. Okay, so, right, let's line up Belgium's players up again. So we've got Courtois, Alderweireld, I've lost track of number 5. Here he is. Haven't switched it yet, have I? Both brothers are on the bench, yeah. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if Eden Hazard came on for the second half. Definitely an impact sub, or it can be anyway. He was, when the few occasions where he started on the bench for Chelsea, he definitely had an impact when he came on. We've got Dendocker. (17, 7, 11). Here we go. There was it. That was it. So yeah, I'll be interested to see if Belgium keep going for counter-attacks in the second half as well. That definitely seemed to be, that was really their only real threat in this match. I'm interested to see if they switch it up in the second half, because they need a win. Let's just actually check how Morocco's getting on, because I haven't looked. Morocco. I can't find it. It's not working. Oh well. So Morocco are winning. So yeah, they definitely need. They're winning 2-1 against Canada at half time. So Belgium need a win. They definitely need a win. Otherwise, they're out. Okay, so I'm just getting the board set up for the second half. We've got Witzel, Castan out wide on the left. We've got Meunier. Witzel, Dendocker, Kevin De Bruyne out wide here. We've got Mertens behind Trossard. And we've got Carrasco out wide. I haven't seen much of Carrasco this half. I'm surprised they found him a couple times when Croatia committed a lot of plays to stop these attacks down the left flank. They found him a couple times with switches in play, but he hasn't gotten on the ball as much as maybe Belgium would like to see him on the ball, because he's definitely a dangerous player. If he's given time, if he has the right amount of space, he can definitely create something. I think Belgium are doing a strategy. Basically, they're wasting Croatia's energy so they can go for the counter. Yeah, you'd expect to see that they're kind of just building the ball. They're holding it in this position. They're moving it quickly, but they're just trying to lure Croatia to come forward more often. So it would make it difficult for Croatia to cover all these spaces. And as they push up, yeah, it's very tiring. Definitely, if you don't have the ball, you're running more than your opponent. That's for sure. And it's why managers insist on possession so much. Maybe possession as a stat, as a whole, isn't that fundamental to the game. It doesn't tell you how much about how a team played, because if you take Japan against Germany, they had 26% possession, but they won the game 2-1. And the most important thing there is what you do with the possession when you do have it. But if you have the ball for 70% of the match, then that means the opposition isn't scoring for 70% of the match. So if you can control the game for as long as possible, then you're limiting the opportunities the opposition can have. Then the opposition might be good, they might be able to create an opportunity with only 20% possession, but at least you're doing all you can to stop them from creating as many opportunities as possible. So, Juranovic, just get the players set up again. Here we go, we've got these two. We've got Lovren at the back, along with Gradriel, and then we've got the midfield of Brozovic, Modric, Kovacic. Again, Kovacic is another player hasn't gotten on the ball so much in this half. Struggled to find the space. He's operating a lot in this space here. So you'd say this space here against Croatia, Belgium's 4-2-3-1, but it's not as effective. On the second half started. Need to start the timer. Okay, so the timer's slightly behind, but only by a couple seconds. Okay, so second half started. No changes so far. So Croatia looking strong at the start of the half. They definitely looked strong at the start of the first half, creating an opportunity within the first 10 seconds. Not quite the same at the start of the second half, but they're instantly putting a lot of pressure. So Croatia definitely don't want to lose, obviously, because if they lose, Morocco are winning. It's a huge game for Croatia as well. Who do you think is more of a surprising knockout, if Croatia or Belgium don't go through? And it's Morocco. It's looking likely Morocco are going to go through at this point. Just wondering to see if people think Croatia's a bigger upset if they go out, or if Belgium's a bigger upset. Because Belgium's golden generation, as we know, maybe not as golden as it may have been a couple years ago. And De Bruyne himself saying Belgium are getting old, which is true. They have one of the oldest teams in the World Cup, that's for sure. Belgium are definitely the favourites, yeah. I'm not sure about this game though. I'm not sure. So you can see it that Croatia's having their defence. It's much easier having them white now. Croatia's tightening their defence quite a lot. They've got this 4-5-1. Belgium just holding possession, getting players in this position, getting these players out wide. And then the good thing, what Belgium can do is, and what works well with having De Bruyne as the right winger, he doesn't play this far out wide. And what Belgium like to do is, instead of building with a back four, so this is how you'd see Brazil if you haven't seen my latest video, and I'll keep recommending it, but you should probably watch it. It's quite good. If you haven't seen Brazil, this is how they build. They keep their fullbacks quite deep. So it makes it difficult for the opposition to decide if they want to press here, because then it frees up space for exactly who Brazil want to free up space for, which is Vinicius Jr. and Rafinha here. So you'd have the other team sit quite deep, and it just means Brazil have easy options here, and they could pass the ball out and just control the pitch and create more opportunities. What Belgium do is they don't build like this. They build with three at the back. So what they're doing is they're shifting to the right. They're having Castagne moving inside. And then they have their right back, Meunier, push up, which allows De Bruyne to come into this very dangerous position here, which is where you want De Bruyne. Because then, again, all we talk about is the half spaces. They're very important. They're not too difficult to understand. So this is kind of what it would look like. It'd be like a lopsided 4-3-3 or 3-4-3. Sorry. So you'd have. Is that Belgium? Oh no! Good opportunity from a corner. Belgium very good to cover and get back in time. Thank you, Max. Yes, subscribe everyone if you haven't already. If you're enjoying this content, if you want to see more streams, then definitely subscribe. And if you want to be part of the Tactics gang, then yeah, leaving even just a like on this stream, trying to get as many people as possible to watch it and share it, would really help out. So yeah, as we were saying, with Modric in this position, sorry, not Modric, De Bruyne in this position, it just makes it difficult for Croatia to cover all these spaces. So it's why they're able to get a lot of players in this possession. First half, it was mostly Trossard getting into these positions out wide here. But it looks like they might be able to build a bit more structure in the second half as they want to control the pitch. Having this back three, these two players here with Witsel and Den Docker, it just means it's difficult for Croatia to cover all these spaces, because you've got these players in the centre. So it's like, what do? You tighten up. But if you tighten up too much, then you've got the pass out wide into Meunier, you've got the pass out wide into Carrasco. You've got these overloads here with De Bruyne in the half space. You've got Mertens constantly operating in this position. You've got Trossard, who's not a real centre forward. He moves around a lot. He doesn't maybe get onto the end of crosses as much, but he cuts into these positions. He cuts in behind. He's definitely very difficult to keep track of. So yeah, having Modric, I keep saying Modric instead of De Bruyne. Maybe it's just getting goats confused. Good corner from Croatia, very well defended. Opportunity from outside the box. Yeah, very difficult to score from those. Thank you for subscribing, Danji, means a lot. So yeah, Belgium's back three build-up structure. You can see it here. It's difficult as well, because with Croatia, they're trying to man mark in the first phase, so they're trying to stop all these runs. But you've always got either Witsel coming into this position, so then it's a 3v2 here. Or if it's not Witsel, then it's Dendocker coming into this position, so you've got 3v2 here. And with all these players, with these two coordinating their movement, one coming short, one dropping deep, it just creates a lot of issues for the midfield as well, because they don't know if they want to push up, because let's say Modric pushes up on Dendocker and Witsel pushes up on Modric, or Kovacic on Dendocker, Modric here, then it creates more space for De Bruyne to operate in this area here. So it's all things maybe Croatia are thinking, okay, let's just let Belgium have the ball in this stage. Let's just make sure they don't get the ball into these areas, because then if the ball's in with De Bruyne, it's in with Mertens, it's in with Trossard, then it becomes a lot harder for them to keep track. So yeah, Belgium not really looking to press too high up the pitch as well. They're letting the centre-backs have the ball, just making sure no easy passes into the centre are made, and then very aggressive as soon as the ball comes out wide. Maybe in this case it was into Sousa, which I think Belgium looks like they've identified as a bit of a weak point for Croatia. I don't know, let me know if you agree, if you think there's better players in that position, but it definitely looks like they're trying to move onto his position more frequently. And yeah, they're not pressing too high, mostly because what we were saying earlier with the 3-2, the 4-1 build-up structure that Croatia use, it's difficult to win the ball back. So you just want to ensure they can't get the ball into more dangerous players further up the pitch before committing too many players. So you've got there's enough space covered where you can quickly close down one of the players on the ball, but you're not relying on one player just constantly following a player around as well. You're just making sure that these players here, so maybe Brozovic is in this position, you've got these players out wide, you're just making sure Kovacic and Modric can't get on the ball as easy as maybe you'd like them to. But here they come again, Croatia, attacking down Belgium's right flank. Good ball onto the second post. Definitely looks like the majority of the crosses are onto the second post today as well. I'm not sure if that's something they've particularly identified, but it does seem to a lot of switches onto the opposing right back or left back. And yeah, lots of cutbacks, lots of passes into the box, lots of crosses. Both teams are defending, as you mentioned earlier, they're defending zone 14, they're defending this central area very, very well, which is forcing both teams to come into these spaces out wide, which can create a lot of opportunities, but is then difficult. Eventually, you do need to get the ball into this position. Here's a player in zone 14, great opportunity for Croatia, good shot on the edge of the box. Rice, no, I don't have a Discord yet. I'm looking to get everything updated, see how well I can sort everything out. Croatia working the ball well and just not quite precise enough in the cross. So again, let's take a look at how they're able to get the ball as well. So Belgium are defending deep now. Croatia are in a good spell, switching to a back five right in the last minute. Yeah, they're trying to get into these positions a lot. So we've got Modric and Kovacic here. We've got Perisic out wide and Kramaric as well. So in these positions, let's ignore the defence for now because you don't need them. It just crowds the box too much. But yeah, so they're trying to get Modric cutting inside into these positions here. So again, so sometimes Belgium will switch to a back five to try and stop these, but then you've got the other midfielders having to drop deep as well to cover as more players join the attack. And then what Croatia are doing really well is they're just rotating the ball from side to side. So as the team slowly comes over, slowly forces play into this position, then you've always got Perisic just ready in behind here in an onside position, but the fullback can't step out because Kovacic is in this position. And it's just always creating a 2v1 here, or is it a 2v1 here? Is it, do I stop this one? Do I stop Modric? Do I stop Kovacic? It's just constantly trying to adapt and force play around the defensive block. So Croatia winning a corner, no, actually didn't take a deflection. So we can get to see a bit of Belgium's build-up now. But yeah, so with Croatia on the ball here, they're very good at just having players in support, having players always, they've got Brozovic in this position, or if he's pressed, then they can just move it out wide here, and they can just move it around constantly, just waiting for a gap to open up behind the right back in this position here. And then it's either a ball in behind, maybe this time it's Kovacic who tries to cut it back across into Levaya, or maybe it's even Perisic with an excellent left foot outswinger or a right foot inswinger. It's always just constantly trying to keep the Belgium defence guessing. So Belgium actually looking to up the tempo a little bit, as you'd expect, because they are losing, which is not losing, but they're currently out with a 0-0 draw. They definitely need a win. And their build-up, something I like a lot about having the 3-2 build-up structure that we were talking about earlier, which is what they're doing. In this case, we've got Alderweireld and Vertonghen with Castan as the back three, and then you've got Witsel and Dendocker in the centre. So what the 3-2 allows you to do, let's just put the players. So this is the right back, you've got Kevin De Bruyne, you've got Trossard, you've got Carrasco, you've got Mertens and you've got Carrasco. So this is maybe how they defend as well. 4 players at the back. Got these players between the lines. And then maybe, you've got these players out wide, you've got these players here. And let's say Croatia have gone ultra aggressive press. Ultra aggressive. So if you want to up the tempo a little bit, maybe in this case, let's say you're building with a 3-2. So you've got the 3 centre-backs, or the 2 centre-backs and the right back. Sorry, the left back and the 2 centre-backs. And then you've got the 2 holding midfielders as well. So if you want to maybe add an extra player, you can think about this as you would maybe when you're playing FIFA and you have neutral mode. Then if you want to score a goal, you switch it to offensive and then ultra offensive. Or if you want to not concede, you go to parking the bus, you go to ultra defensive, you go to defensive mentality. And this is kind of, you can imagine the 3-2 build up as your team's in neutral. You don't want to go too aggressive, but you want enough support in the centre where you can easily beat the press, and then you can create your opportunities. But if you're chasing the game, you can switch from a 3-2, you could easily just switch to a 3-1. And then if you switch to a 3-1, you've still got this diamond shape in the centre here, which is difficult to cover, because if you have these players playing central, these players just can step further out wide. So maybe you can stop a pass into the holding midfielder, but you can't always stop a pass into the wing backs as well. In this case, they're wing backs, even though it's the left back and the centre back. So let's say you switched it to ultra aggressive. So you've gone from 3-2, you've gone to 3-1, and now what you have is you have an extra player on the back line. So in this case, you've got 5 players, and then you'd have it would maybe be Carrasco up top. Or not Carrasco, I keep calling him Mertens Carrasco. And then you have Witsel in this position here. And that just forces the defence to compact their shape a little bit more as well. So maybe you wouldn't have Kovacic as high up, you'd have Modric drop a little bit deeper. And it just creates more space between the attacking block and the midfield. So then by doing this, by going into a more offensive mentality, so you can see it here. So Witzel's pushing up, they've gone to a 3-1, they still have support out wide with I keep forgetting the Munier, the right back. But it just makes it difficult with either Witsel or a Dendocker moving from this position here. You can actively just increase your attacking threat. So with Witsel pushing up, now you've got a front 4 and you've got a player between the lines as well. So what does the midfield want to do? Do you want to win the ball back here? Do you step out? Do you ensure they can't play it out wide to Munier? Do you ensure that Dendocker can't get on the ball? You can do all those, but the most important thing is probably you want to cover the defence. So you sit back a little bit more, and that just frees up more space here, which the team can quickly beat the 3-man press, and now you've got a player in this position, the defence has to fall back, and you've still got these players, they fall back, they tighten their shape a little bit, and now you've got De Bruyne here, Dendocker Munier has time to push up, Witsel has time in this position. You still got good defensive cover. You forced them to fall back a little bit more. Maybe they switch to a 4-5-1. But at this point, it's too late. You've already got
the structure that you need, which is a front five and then a free roaming player, maybe between the lines, adding support if needed, dropping here for easy passing options, like this, let's say. But at this point, you've already got the opportunity to switch the ball into this position. You've already got an opportunity to switch the ball into this position. You can find De Bruyne with a key pass if they're not very good at covering this pass into the centre here. There's so many options that can happen. And then, so let's say you've done that. You've switched from a 3-1, from a 3-2 to a 3-1. Now what do you want to do? Do you want to add even more pressure? Well, maybe you have your other fullback push up as well. It allows your Carrasco to move into a more central position, which he does like to occupy at times. And now you have Castan on the back. And then your centre-backs can come back. And now you have a 3. So you've gone from a 3-2, which is neutral. Then you've gone from a 3-1, which is offensive. And now you've gone for a 3, and then with an extra player here that's adding support. So you've gone from 5 players to 4 players to 3 players. And you've slowly just gained ground and forced the opposition to make a choice. So now they're completely outnumbered out wide. So they have to come to shift, that maybe they have to drop to a back 5 to cover all of these runs, which just creates more space in the centre for players like De Bruyne, like Mertens to get on the ball. I think it was a good opportunity for Belgium now. I sometimes get distracted talking that I miss the opportunities, which is counterproductive when you're trying to explain what's happening in the game. So yeah, so ultra offensive would sometimes then look like you've got 3 players, or if you go super ultra attacking, then maybe you just have 2, because at that point the defensive team has to commit too many as well. But 3 gives you good offensive power. It gives you cover in the half spaces, cover out wide. It keeps the centre backs occupied with the striker. You've got 2 players in the centre. Maybe you've got one of the holding mids pushing up. It's an excellent way, and it's a quick way of helping the team move up the pitch, and with a lot of structure to it. So everything has to happen in the right time, at the right moment. But if it does, then it does mean you can always have a lot of players on the back line. So Croatia coming here, looking for a player on the edge of the box. But yeah, Belgium very quick to close them down. But again, out wide, there's a lot of space. The Belgium centre-backs have to tighten their shape quite a lot. And Croatia just looking to pass it from side to side, just moving and trying to pick out either Perisic or Kramaric in these positions, trying to cut with the support of like Modric and Kovacic as well. You're in Japan, so your time zone is... so what's the time in Japan? Wow, that's a long way away. Substitution for Croatia. Trossard and Mertens coming off. And we've got Romelu Lukaku and Thorgan Hazard, right? So not the Hazard we thought was going to come on, but still a good choice. They've definitely gone... So I think they've realised what they were missing in the first half. And it was someone just to knock it in. Trossard definitely was good for counter-attacks. He's very quick, so maybe Belgium won't go for too many counter-attacks. They're looking to play a lot more often, which is what you'd expect to do with Lukaku, because he's quick, but he's not rapid. He's not Trossard, little aggressive, like can attack the channels as quickly. So with someone like Lukaku, you're maybe looking to keep him slightly further up the pitch. I haven't got the right numbers for him, but maybe you try and keep him in this position, and maybe you're starting to see the ball being dinked into here a lot more often, laying it off into De Bruyne, into Carrasco, or even Thorgan Hazard, who's come on now, and create more opportunities here before then eventually feeding it in. And once you do feed it out wide, then you've finally got a target man in the centre who can knock it in. I think so. Yeah, they might not counterattack as often, also because there's not as many opportunities to counterattack, because Croatia know a draw is good enough for them. So they want to win, but they don't want to commit too many players forward. They want to make sure that they don't concede. That's definitely their main priority right now. And having Lukaku on the pitch creates a lot of issues. So Belgium won't counter-attack as much. They're definitely still going to look to rotate the ball from side to side, but you're going to see a lot more crosses
into this area, into number 17 is Lukaku. We'll keep him like that. You're going to cross it into this area. You might cross it into these areas out here and then deliver a ball. Maybe De Bruyne does this a lot for Man City. Let's say Belgium are out right on the right flank here. We've got Lukaku, Meunier, and then you've got De Bruyne in this position. And as the defense shifts, so yeah, this is something De Bruyne does exceptionally well. With the ball coming back, let's say Meunier lays it off to De Bruyne, he'll do a one look, like a no touch, just an instant cross from here into this position, just drifting it around onto the second post, where someone like Lukaku could get on the end of it, someone like Castan if he's out wide, or Carrasco, or Thorgan Hazard. You can create a lot of issues just with a long ball into the second post, because the defence has to tighten their shape on this side. They have to come here. And the more they do this, with Croatia quickly breaking here, the more you do this, the more you can create an opportunity on the back post. So if it's super long, then Castan can maybe just lay it off to Carrasco or Thorgan Hazard in this position here. If it's a bit shorter, then you've got Lukaku here. It's always having options. And it's something you see a lot from set plays. Maybe there's a team that has a specific routine that they want to do from a corner, from a free kick, but they always structure it in a way where if the delivery isn't precise, there's always a fullback option. So maybe you'd have two players run onto the front post and you have one player run onto the back post. But the target is actually play on the back post, even though it's only one player. If the ball's not precise, it's a bit too short, then at least you have players that can knock it in on the front post. If it's too long, maybe you have another player all the way at the back that's there to cover and knock it back across goal. It's always about risk-taking and understanding when to play the ball, where to play the ball. And a ball onto the second post here could create a lot of danger, so you have a lot of players there ready for any eventual, any potential event that could happen. Right wing back and left wing back can just whip it into the opposition box so players can attack. Yeah, that's true. So yeah, having this structure all the way right here. So now I'd expect Castan and Meunier to start pushing up a lot more often. Maybe you'd see Witsel. He'll usually be in this position before moving forward. So it looks now they've actually moved to like a 2-2. So yeah, getting a lot. Belgium looking quite dangerous going forward now. So it looks now they're going for this 2-2 defensive structure, like this. Carrasco or Thorgan Hazard, Meunier, Alderweireld. And that gives you 6 players up top. So let's say the ball's out here on the right with Meunier. Croatia's defense would look something like this. You've got Modric, you've got Brozovic, you've got Kovacic, and then maybe a front two, something like that. You've got Perisic maybe falling back a little bit. So yeah, so what Belgium are doing now, they've got these 2 players at the back here covering, constantly just waiting. You've got 2 players here as support, so these are always good for having players to rotate. So you'd have maybe Dendocker in this position, you'd have Witsel in this position, and then depending on what side the ball is, Castan or Meunier can invert and they can come inside. So the inverted fullback is something we see a lot in modern football, especially with managers like Pep Guardiola or managers that want to control the space more often. You'd often see maybe, let's say Witsel pushes up. This is Castan, this is the left back. So traditionally maybe you'd expect him to sit back here, but you see a lot, and what we could see today is him moving into this position here. So you still got this 2-2 structure, but it just allows you to have an extra player in a dangerous position in the centre. So it's either Castan staying wide here and Witsel covering in this position, or maybe Witsel will push back here if they need an extra player, allowing Castan to push up, Carrasco, Thorgan Hazard, whoever's on the wing now, to move into this position. So yeah, it's just constantly having options to rotate.
So yeah, Croatia really tight with their defence now. You can see it. The pegs are pretty much perfectly lined up right now as how you'd expect them to see. Yeah, Witzel in this position, and then you've got the fullbacks acting essentially as wingbacks now. So we could kind of say that as Belgium have gone ultra offensive. They've gone for the goal. They need a goal. They're upping the tempo as much as possible. And if they don't score, it's looking like an early World Cup for them, which is a shame. They've got a lot of talented players that they're fun to watch. I think the reason why Lukaku is playing badly is because of his injury. It probably still hurts. From Rice, yeah, it's never easy to recover from an injury, and it's good ball from Croatia, and that could definitely be a reason as to why he's not performing to the top level. Another reason could be the publicity that he's got recently from his move away from Chelsea. He's left a lot of negative feelings about him at the club. That's always something that could play on your mind. I'm sure at this level, players are very good with dealing at that, but it's never. They are human at the end of the day, and there's a lot of negative things said about Lukaku that could easily put anyone off their game. So we've had another couple substitutions. So Kramaric has come off, and Pasalic and Petkovic have come on for Kramaric and Livadia. So a change up top for Croatia as well, which would suggest that they want to start putting a bit more pressure. I can't imagine these substitutions necessarily for a goal. Pasalic is definitely a very good player, and it could be very dangerous in this position out wide if Castaños pushed up too far. So I wouldn't be surprised if Croatia start doing what Belgium were doing in the first half. So start to try and get players on the counter-attack in this position here. So you could switch. You could say maybe the two tactics have switched a little bit. With Croatia definitely looking to counter-attack a lot more often, looking for balls into these positions behind the fullbacks, and Belgium now having more control of the match, more solid structure in the centre, trying to keep Croatia penned back in their own half as much as possible. And it'll be interesting to see the statistics actually. I can't actually get them up on screen. But it'd be interesting to see who's winning on possession, if there's any interesting, if you guys can pull up anything interesting. So yeah, Pasalic definitely gives you a lot more energy up top as well. So he might start pressing these positions a lot more often, just trying to disrupt their defensive, their offensive structure, just ensuring that the pass maybe out wide isn't as easy as possible because he's under pressure. So there's a bit more pressure to make this pass, and maybe he kicks it into touch. And you know, it's just little things. Just changing two strikers may seem like a very offensive thing, but it's also a defensive thing. If you've got two fresh players that can disrupt a defensive block, maybe now. They were building with a 2 and a 2. Maybe now they have to switch to a 3 and a 2. So you lose a player up top. You have to be a bit more careful in this position, because even though Belgium need a goal, if they concede a goal, it's completely over, because I doubt they're going to get 2 with the time remaining. We're in the 29th minute now, so only 15 minutes plus added time. Can't imagine there'll be too much added time in this game, although that still means 5, 6, 7 minutes in this World Cup, which, as we spoke about earlier, I do agree with. I think that's a positive change. It's going to be interesting when we get to the quarterfinals, last 16, when the knockout stages. Maybe the games will be a bit too long at that point, but still interesting to see. So yeah, both teams very tight. Belgium very tight on Croatia, very quick to try and get the ball back. Do you guys, Hoodie Season, asking if you guys think this is still going to be a draw? I think it will be. I can't see. I think it might be 1-1. And Croatia are in now, very big opportunity. Belgium reacting quick, very good cover there. But again, all opportunities are coming from these spaces out here. The fullbacks are definitely the weak point for both teams. We've seen another change here. Carrasco and Dendok have both come off for Tielemans and Doku. Doku, very dynamic player, very quick. Oh, I think I've closed my tab. Could definitely be interesting. Belgium have one more sub to make it count. I think the reason why Lukaku played badly, I think I've read that. Really bad. Do a formation for a 4v4. This is my last time asking. Sorry, yeah, I think I might have missed that earlier. 4v4. Do you mean like a training exercise, or is it like a futsal 5v5, 4v4 outfield players? If it's futsal, I could probably do something. I know quite a bit about 5v5 tactics. I play it quite a lot. But yeah, we'll see. I've never actually played 4v4 as a format, unless you mean 5v5 without the goalkeepers. I could try doing 4v4. I've been asked to do 7-a-side, 9-a-side. Those aren't really my go-to categories, we could call it. I work a lot with 5-a-side. It's probably my favourite. 4v4 with goalies, right? Okay, yeah, I'll look into it. I'll see if I can find something interesting about that. So yeah, Croatia definitely switching. It's quite funny that the two tactics have completely switched from half to half. So first half it was Belgium looking to counter-attack, with Croatia maybe trying to get an early goal so they could play the second half with less pressure, maybe rest some players because they're looking like they're probably the favourites going into this for going through. So maybe they wanted to control play a bit more, but now Belgium really need the goal. It's a good ball from De Bruyne and onto the second post. Again, these overloads out wide, forcing the defence to shift with a ball into the second post is just constant. And with De Bruyne, maybe he starts on the right flank, but he could always be in this position. And he rotates well with Witsel, with Dendocker, with Carrasco, and now it's Thorgan Hazard, it's Doku. There's a lot of players. And De Bruyne's just very good. He hasn't got a fixed position. He just plays where the space is. It looks like another corner. No, and it's a goal kick for Croatia. So 32nd minute. Time running out for Belgium. They're going to need something special. So yeah, first half it was Belgium mostly going for the counter-attacks. It's completely switched. Now it's Croatia trying to get into these positions. But most of the half it has been played here, with the odd occasion coming down the flanks. Even from build-up. Yeah, Croatia not risking it, going for the long ball. It looked like Belgium's structure has kind of shifted to a 4-3-1-2 or like a 4-4-2 diamond. So maybe you'd have De Bruyne shifted into this position here. You've got the fullbacks. So that's interesting. That's a proper shift in formation as well. So now you've got the two strikers up top actually, which can easily become three. Like that. Maybe you've got Dendocker. So now you've only got Witsel on the pitch, which is more defensive-minded compared to the other players that have come on. So yeah, with Thorgan Hazard, with Tielemans, with Doku, with Lukaku, it's definitely a lot more offensive. So now you've got these players, you've got Thorgan Hazard, you've got Doku, you've got Lukaku and Doku up top, you've got De Bruyne here, you've got Thorgan Hazard. This 4-3-1-2 now can be a lot more dangerous because you can still build through the centre, you can still outnumber Croatia's front two, if that's how they're still pressing. But it gives you an extra player in the centre, in zone 14, which is what we were talking about earlier. So De Bruyne now is actively in this position. Maybe, Croatia, I think, kind of switched to a back 4-5-1. Now you've got two strikers, you maybe want a bit more support. And then the width now is mostly given by the fullbacks because you've got Witsel as support, maybe in this position. So you kind of got a front four with De Bruyne shifting from whichever side he's needed. So even though he's in a central position on paper, you wouldn't expect to see him here too often, and he'd usually be in this position, and maybe it's Tielemans or Doku moving here. It's a constant shifting into where there's space. So yeah, Croatia just looking to shore things up again now, not committing too many players. Perisic, interesting, playing a lot more central than you'd expect him to see. So we have him here as wing back, but he's playing in this position a lot more, freeing up more space for Souza to push up on the right here.
And he's still effective in the half space between the centre backs, but you really want to get Perisic in this position because he's so and that's a great ball, great crossfield ball, and Croatia just constantly looking for the cutbacks. They get into this position, here, and they just kind of knock it back into this area, but they haven't really got anyone that can knock it in for them. They've got a lot of talent in midfield and out wide, but maybe their striker is a position that's lacking a little bit. Something that they could definitely have done with someone a bit more aggressive, a bit more strong in that position to get on the end of all the balls in that Croatia are able to get into the box. So yeah, Perisic, you really want to get him out wide instead of having him in this half space here, because the unpredictability of his left or right foot just means that it creates a lot of opportunities. So you never know if he's going to come down the left, you never know if he's going to cut down the right. It's good to have him as wide as possible, and I think having him here and having Sousa out wide, it just slightly limits his potential a little bit. But Croatia linking up very well, especially on the right, on the left side of on the left side of attack in Perisic's area. So yeah, we'll build up now. Belgium on the ball. Definitely going a lot more aggressive. So they've already got a front five. It looks like a front. They're keeping 5 players here to help with build up, and then they're just instantly having 5 players on the back line and looking for balls into Lukaku, as we predicted. Lukaku's going to be a bit more of a target in this half. And then, interestingly, Thorgan Hazard, Kevin De Bruyne, Doku, they're just rotating. So anyone can fill any one of these 5 positions. So maybe Croatia keeping a back 4, and then again trying to just hit Belgium on the counter attack, doing very well, just looking for players on the edge of the box. They know their talent is with Modric, Brozovic, Kovacic, players in the centre, and Perisic. It's not really at the front; it's more in the middle. So they're just trying to get players in that position to take the final shot. But Belgium look aware to that danger, and they're stopping it quite frequently. So just under 10 minutes left now. If you're enjoying the stream, then make sure to subscribe if you haven't already. Maybe leave a like, comment, anything to keep the stream interesting and engaging. Just trying to draw more people as possible. What games do you want to cover? Do you think we should cover in the knockout stages? Thank you, Rice. So yeah, this 3-2 here, and then the front 5. It's a very common. It's something Barcelona do relatively consistently as well. This 3-2, and then you've got front 5, and then anyone can play in any position, except maybe you'd have the striker here, but then you've got in this case De Bruyne that can be in this position. You could have Meunier moving more centrally. Maybe De Bruyne shifts over and switches places with Thorgan Hazard. Doku comes inside. You've got Castan that can play instead of Doku. It's a good way of always keeping the opposition guessing, because you can very quickly just outnumber the defense, especially if you've got 5. And if Croatia shift to a back 5, then you've got more control in the center as well. So this mostly looking like Croatia's defensive structure now. They're always keeping a couple players at the back, just making sure they don't get hit on counter-attacks. De Bruyne again getting into this position here. Again, I'll never stop mentioning how important this position here is. Best attempt so far was Croatia against itself. Yeah, that's true. There haven't been... definitely the last stream I did was 6-2 for England against Iran. So a lot more action, a lot more goals to talk about. But it's still been an interesting game, very tactical. Both teams it looks like both teams trying to counter each other. So they're obviously very aware of what the other team's strengths are. So they're always trying to play in a way that limits the opposition's strengths, but also plays to your own strengths as well. So it's why you always have you'd have maybe an extra defensive player to stop Perisic, because you know he's dangerous. So you don't want to commit too many players, but at the same time, you want to get the ball to De Bruyne. So maybe you'd commit someone here to have support to De Bruyne. It's always about balancing your strengths and considering what the opposition's strengths are as well. So in this case, second half, Croatia are definitely going for the counter-attack a lot more often. So they keep in, I think it's Perisic, I can't see the number, but no, not Perisic. I think it's still,
Oh, it's the striker that's come on. Pasalic or Petkovic?
and then yeah, they're just trying to instantly get the ball in this position. And once the striker's got the ball here, then maybe Belgium are a bit slow to react, and you can instantly get players. If he's allowed to turn, if the striker's allowed to turn, then it's difficult to stop. You can always find players in this position here as well.
So Belgium starting to look out of ideas.
They keep trying the same thing. They keep trying to rotate the ball from side to side and look for a ball into Lukaku,
but it just looks like it's not going to be their day.
they're looking like they're running out of hope. Lukaku's already got his top off.
Spain, Germany and Croatia to cover next round, the USA, Netherlands. So I think Spain and Germany could be fun to cover. Germany, what do you think of Germany? I was surprised how bad they looked in their first game against Japan. If you haven't seen that video, I did cover that game. But they definitely looked a lot better against Spain. And then tomorrow night's going to be I think it's tomorrow night, or is it tonight even? It's going to be a deciding fixture to see how they perform. I'm interested to see how far they can go. They're definitely not my favourites. They're definitely not a team I'd consider to go past the quarterfinals. Not entirely sure who they'd meet on the way, but I think teams like France, I think Brazil, Argentina, Spain. I want to say England, but I know England would play, if we beat Cameroon, we'd play France in the quarterfinals, which, you know, on their day, England can do it. They do have incredible players. They have great talent. I'm very happy to see Foden starting. I do like Mason Mount, I do like Sterling, but I think right now for England, Marcus Rashford and Phil Foden just give England a bit more attacking strength and a bit more attacking dynamism. I think Mount's very energetic. He's good for Southgate because he presses well and he covers lines well, and he's super good without the ball. But I think on the ball, Foden just gives you that little bit extra that England need in the final third. And I think that was evident against Wales. They looked so good in attack. They created a lot of opportunities. And Wales, yeah, they haven't had the best World Cup. They haven't got the greatest squad, but they're not a bad team. They still know. Oh, that was a good free kick routine there, but it got called up from the referee. Yeah, Wales, they have some strong players. They have some good players. Maybe slightly aging. They got some young talent coming through as well. But definitely it was a good result for England, and deservedly topped the group. That game against the USA that finished 0-0, I think everyone overreacted a little bit too much to how defensive England were. I think it was fine. It was the States are a good team. They can hit you on the counter-attack very easily. They're very quick. So I think England will just try to make sure... Senegal, not Cameroon, sorry, yeah. Yeah, my bad. If Germany gets knocked out, Australia and some like bad teams, example Saudi Arabia is lucky. I mean, Saudi Arabia, they were very good against Argentina in their first game. That 2-1 win, they put so much pressure on Argentina's defence that I think no one expected it. And they scored 2 incredible goals, especially the second goal was so fun to watch. Like a little dribble on the edge of the box and then a curler onto the second post. Similar to how Argentina have actually scored 2 of their last 3 goals, really. So it looks like something... It was interesting. It was, I think Saudi Arabia, I think Germany will win. I think they'll win tonight, and I think Spain will comfortably win against Japan. So, oh my God, what an opportunity. Oh my God, I can't believe Lukaku's just missed that. So the ball's come in from the right flank. I think it was Meunier who's pushed up here. And he's found Lukaku completely free on the edge of the box. And instead of heading it, he's gone to chest it. And he's just chested it across goal. That was a completely open goal. That was quite bad. That might make quite a compilation or something. That goal, yeah. Sorry, Lukaku, but... So it was kind of what we were saying was going to happen and what you'd expect to happen. So Belgium delivering balls from this area here, trying to get the ball in early, trying to beat the offside trap and get a player here.
but that's not what you expect from a player like Lukaku. I know he's not having the best season, and he didn't have the best season last season either, but you'd still expect anyone at this level to put that in. You put $60 on Belgium. Yeah, that's a shame. I think Lukaku owes you some money for that. That was wow. Yeah, I'm surprised about that one. Didn't expect that at all. So into added time, 4 minutes. That was it. That was the goal. That goal would have seen Belgium through, because Croatia, they've created some good opportunities down the flanks with cutting balls across, but just just not enough just not enough. Yeah, just not enough to beat the defence. So it hasn't been the most exciting of games in terms of events and shots, and maybe for a neutral, but for tactics, there's been some interesting themes that have emerged, especially the switching of the roles, let's say, from the first half to the second half. So first half, Belgium definitely looking to, and the ball's in for Lukaku again. He's just, Croatia just awake to the danger, and Lukaku's just a meter too slow to react. Just seems unprepared every time the ball does finally get to him as well, which was kind of what happened when he was at Chelsea as well. A lot of good balls, a lot of good delivery into him, and he just couldn't finish it off. And it's a similar story for Belgium today. He's had a couple of good opportunities since he's come on. He hasn't played long, but he shouldn't need long. He's a talented player. He just needs to get back into the right mind frame. But unfortunately, it looks like it's not going to be at this World Cup. Lukaku just wants Belgium to get knocked. It looks like it. It doesn't look like he's playing for his team. Just looking at the whole tactical cam, so you can see the whole players. I'm not sure if you can see it from the regular camera angle as well, but he doesn't look happy. He keeps on bending over, keeps on crouching. He looks upset with himself, which you can't really blame him. That was two big opportunities that just came his way. So Croatia actually going quite attacking with 4 players, but they're definitely not committing too many. So 4 players, and then Belgium just trying to get the ball into the forwards quickly, but just not finding the space. Croatia have been good. They've stopped Belgium's counterattacks well. They adapted to Belgium's changing system. So when Belgium switched to like a 3-1, 3-2, Croatia were ready. They dropped their players quite well, and they always had the 1 or 2 players just always asking questions. That's all they want to do. They're just always asking questions in this space. They're always asking questions in this space. It just makes sure the defense can't fully relax, and make sure they can't always just have complete control of the half, and there's always going to be the danger of a ball into this position. So I think Croatia have dealt with this game well. I'd be surprised if Belgium get another opportunity. We're into the 48th minute, so one more minute of added time. It looks to be coming to an end. Good ball over the top here. Is he offside? I don't think he is. Croatia see exactly what we were talking about. Oh, and Croatia are in. Very good defending there. Very good cover. I think that's Kastan running across. I can't entirely see from this camera angle. But very good defense. And that's it. Croatia have won. Belgium are knocked out. Did anyone expect that? That was a good game, tactically speaking, but not many events. Wow, so some people seem to be happy. If Croatia and Germany got their dub, easy 216, fair enough. That's mixed emotions at the end of that result. I'm very happy for Morocco. Let's put it that way. I like Belgium. I think they have good players. They're definitely an aging squad, and I think this is the sign that their golden generation has come to an end. They were definitely favourites to make it out the group, not necessarily top the group, but you'd expect them to come out of a group with Croatia and Morocco and Canada, who aren't a terrible team. They're young. They've got some good players like Alphonso Davies, but definitely an upset. You could call that. You could call this the first real miss of the competition, I think. I'm excited to see how far Morocco will go. They're really exciting. They're fun, dynamic. They create a lot of spaces out wide. So if Belgium maybe look to exploit the half spaces a lot, Morocco definitely look to exploit their wing backs and Hakimi and Ziyech and the spaces out wide and good delivery into the box. So they're definitely a team to keep your eye on. I think quarterfinals would be very good for them. Semi-finals would be unbelievable. I think they face tough competition coming up. So
So yeah, let me know what Croatia could do well. Croatia could definitely do well. They have the quality. They're not the youngest team, but they could definitely cause an upset or two on their way. So what did everyone make of that game? Belgium could have drawn with Croatia with some goals to get into the round of 16 by goal difference. So I think Belgium definitely, because of did Morocco win actually? I haven't. Let me just check. So yeah, Morocco won 2-1. So yeah, Morocco and Croatia confirmed. So yeah, I think I'm going to be ending the stream now. I'll make sure to find the best fixtures to cover in the round of 16 and knockouts, and we'll be doing this again when the competition gets really going with the quarterfinals, semi-finals, and eventually the final, and when England are eventually going to take it home, or maybe not, but we'll see. So if you got any questions, I'll be answering a few questions, and then we'll call it a day and let everyone get on for the evening fixture. All in USA. Never buying Belgium ever again. Yeah, no, it's that's it. I think that's the end of the golden generation for some time. So yeah, thank you everyone for joining in. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you all again soon. If you haven't done so, please subscribe. It really helps out the channel. Please leave a like on the stream so more people can see it. It's done pretty well on the views actually. A lot of people coming in, coming out, but I'm really happy for how it's turned out. And I think if you have any suggestions on ways I can improve it, any ways that I can make it a bit more clear. But yeah, it's been really fun talking to everyone, and good luck to your nation if it's still in the World Cup. Let's see who wins. I'm really curious. There's a lot of good teams. It's difficult to call this one. I don't think it's ever been this difficult. You always got one team that are like outright favourites. But this season, this World Cup, there just seems to be so many good players, so many good managers, so many good teams, organised teams, dynamic teams, even teams that maybe you wouldn't expect but are just so dangerous on counterattacks that you can't ignore them. They could go a long way. So USA, they made it through. That's definitely an achievement for them. Australia, an achievement for them. England, I mean, they obviously need to make it through, but it always feels like an achievement when we make it out of a group stage. So yeah. Thank you, everyone. And I will see you soon. Take care.